the death of 1,000 cuts. This is something that you have to see. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbor, and tell your enemies to watch today's program so they could see what a 184-foot tall tower will look like on the downtown mall, ladies and gentlemen. A lot we're going to cover on today's program. Last week, I offered this commentary on the show. If UVA loses to Virginia Tech in football, are we at the most apathetic stage in the history of Virginia athletics? I even caveated it a little bit and said, are we at the most apathetic stage in the history or of Virginia athletics in the last 20 to 30 years, depending on how you look at it. Folks, Virginia football not only lost to Virginia Tech and Blacksburg, they got embarrassed by the Hokies. And immediately after that embarrassment, an embarrassment that saw Tony Elliott, that saw Tony Muskett start in place of Anthony Calandria, Tony Elliott has a hell of a lot of collateral damage at his hands right now, including Anthony Calandria entering the transfer portal. You are looking at a UVA administration that has a significant decision to make, whether to do away with Tony Elliott as the head coach of the football team and to clean house. You look at a roster that has to replace a boatload of talent, including now the starting quarterback. Will that decision be made? Interestingly, the Board of Visitors, the UVA Board of Visitors meet Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. I can assure you this will be a topic of discussion for the heaviest of hitters that dictate the pace and tempo of Thomas Jefferson's University. A lot we're going to cover on today's program, ladies and gentlemen, including a Charlottesville City Council meeting tonight, and ladies and gentlemen, the rumors and scuttlebutt we are hearing of who may run for council in 2025. 2 spots up for grabs on the dais in Charlottesville, 3 spots up for grabs on the dais in the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. Next year is an election of significance. It's a governor's election. We will nominate, we will vote a governor into office. That gets folks out to the voter booth. So much I want to cover on today's show, including Judah Wickhauer's family traditions and what headline is most compelling to him. One of my favorite things of the Thanksgiving break is the time obviously spent with family, but in our respective household, we do the following. We run the Turkey Trot 5K at the Boar's Head Resort on Thanksgiving Day. My wife and I did it with our oldest son and our youngest son in a stroller. Our oldest son was able to go about 1.7 miles on his own 2 legs, and then we pulled out his scooter, his Razor scooter, from under the family stroller where we towed and tucked it away. And our oldest son then did the remaining 1.7 miles on a scooter, with my wife chasing after him and me chasing after them with the stroller in front of me as I'm pushing my kid and a whole lot of baggage on the stroller. The good news is we didn't finish in second to last like we did last year. Somewhere, I'd say, toward the middle to the bottom of the pack, but it's about the memories we made. Following the Boar's Head Turkey Trot, we buy our Christmas tree. We did it at Ivy Nursery on Friday, Black Friday, and then we get the Christmas tree off the family Ford Explorer. We set it up in the family room, and one of my favorite days of the year is going to the attic and pulling out the family ornaments that have been in my family for 40 plus years. We take out of cardboard boxes and we hang on a Christmas tree. This one was a Fraser fir we purchased from Ivy Nursery. And if you need a place to get a Christmas tree, Ivy Nursery is one I would certainly recommend. It's not cheap. It's about $155 for an 8.5-foot Christmas tree. But hey, they load it on your Explorer, they net it, they wrap it, and you have to do no work besides swipe the credit card. Pulling out those ornaments, those 40-plus-year-old ornaments, maybe I'm getting old, maybe I'm getting sappy, maybe this is what comes with age, but it's probably one of my top 3 favorite days of the year. I mean, it's right there with Christmas. It's right there with my kids' birthdays. We bust out the ornaments out of boxes, and I make these comments like, this ornament is 43 years old. It's a moose on a reef with a Santa hat on. Or this ornament's 37 years old. I made this in art class when I was in 3rd grade. Stuff like that. My kids look at me like I'm an idiot. My wife appreciates it because she enjoys seeing the joy in the house. I love it because each ornament has a memory for me of significance. So that's some of our family traditions. Judah Wickhauer, I want to weave you in on first the studio camera, then the 2-shot. I'd be remiss not to ask you what some of the family traditions are. First question, does Judah Wickhauer or the Wickhauer household, the family, have the Christmas tree set up yet, or is that later down the road?
We just got the tree set up the other day.
Oh, fantastic. Ornaments of significance like us, or is that what are some of your family traditions?
Let's see. We don't have a whole lot of set in stone traditions. A tradition used to be to have, at the very least, usually Trisha come into town.
Well, you got to let them know who Trisha is.
Trisha's my sister.
Okay.
And we would head up to the Blue Ridge Parkway, go to our friend's farm and grab a tree there. They sadly are no longer doing that. They have since.
Where was that? You used to hype that place. Seems like a good spot. Was that the?
Well, it's a good spot. They now run 12 Ridges
Yeah.
Winery. No longer growing Christmas trees for people to buy, so that's a shame. But we've got a fake one now, so we don't have to go looking for one.
Oh, makes it easier.
Yep, makes it a lot easier.
A 3-week sprint, ladies and gentlemen, until 2025. A lot we're going to cover on today's show. We'd love to give some props to Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. We were there this morning. Andrew and John Vermillion. You guys need to support Charlottesville Sanitary Supply. Father and son running this business here, locally owned and operated. Purchase your sanitary supplies, your vacuums, your pool supplies at Charlottesville Sanitary Supply on East High Street. This family is doing things the right way. I was there this morning watching John say to Dave Fafara, who joined us on the show last week, who's the president of the Toy Lift. He said, Dave, anything you need, just remind me. I'm here for you. Anything you need with the Toy Lift. And we'll have the founder of the Toy Lift, along with Liza Borchus and Sean Ayers on the program this week. The Toy Lift is 35 years old. 35 years ago, a man got in a bucket truck, went high in the air on a frigid day, and asked the community to give toys to kids who have no toys for Christmas. It's the special traditions, the traditions, like I mentioned, of pulling out ornaments out of cardboard boxes in front of your 2-year-old and 6-year-old sons and saying, this is what this ornament means to me. These are the memories I have when I hang this ornament on the tree. This is what I remember. Toy Lift is just like it. It's a tradition. And a community is as strong as the traditions that we celebrate and champion. Without traditions, we become every city in America, Fredericksburg, Northern Virginia, cities without charm, cities without history, cities without conversation. And one of the themes of the I Love CVille show in 2024 is something that I've noticed that's concerned me, a lack of community spirit. I highlight First Night Virginia disappearing, fireworks show disappearing, the Dogwood Parade being a shadow of its former self. We need to shift the focus back to community and tradition and celebrating community and tradition. And ladies and gentlemen, a good place to start is the Toy Lift. We're going to do our part here on the I Love CVille show and on the I Love CVille network. And speaking of tradition, Curtis Shaver and Laura Fonner, thank you for watching the program. We appreciate you, chefs. This Virginia football team, I never lead with sports, and I'm not going to make this about X's and O's or touchdowns and extra points, wins and losses. I'm instead going to make this about community. The football team is in a state of apathy that is reflective of some of the apathy I see with our community spirit. You can't crack 30,000 people in a stadium that seats 60,000 people. It's half filled at best for home games. Virginia just got embarrassed again against Virginia Tech and Blacksburg, and now Virginia has lost 23 of the last 25 games to their arch rival, the Hokies. Immediately before this game, Tony Elliott says Tony Muskett is going to start and not Anthony Calandria. Muskett gave it all he had, but he's limited by a terrible offensive line, terrible play calling, and frankly, limited upside as a quarterback himself. Anthony Calandria, who started every other game this season, was benched. Immediately after the loss, Calandria makes it known that he's entering the transfer portal and he's getting the hell out of town. Literally leaving a program where for 2 years he was the face of the team. Tony Elliott is at a place with his football program that I have not seen in my lifetime. I've been following this team for 43 years. My dad went to UVA, I went to UVA, my brother went to UVA. You got a roster that is, for a large portion of the roster, has exhausted its eligibility. Many of them starters and backups. You don't have a returning quarterback, and you've won 11 games in 3 years. He's got the least amount of wins of any of the Power 5 programs in the entire country over the 3-year period of time. Apathy. And when it's come to Virginia athletics, we always counted on Tony Bennett and basketball. When football struggled, we said, at least we have Tony Bennett, ladies and gentlemen, to take us from this apathetic fall stage into the winter months where we made pushes for March Madness in the NCAA tournament. We don't have Tony this year. And all the pundits are saying Virginia basketball is going to struggle. The Board of Visitors meets on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday of this week. A topic on their agenda most certainly is going to be the apathetic nature of the athletic department, which is the most front-facing element of the university. Whether you're a sports fan or not, football and basketball are the most front-facing elements of any university. And right now, the most front-facing elements of our university are a brand that's riddled with apathy. And that feeling trickles into the community. It trickles into the community by bleak economic stimulus. It trickles into the community by not having zest and passion and fun, tailgating before and after games. It trickles into the community when you speak to small business owners in Charlottesville and Albemarle County, and they count on those 6 or 7 home football games and those home basketball games to help them get from the red into the black with their small business. The apathy with football and basketball does not just impact Wahoo fans, students, and alumni. It impacts the city of Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and Central Virginia. Hotel room bookings, small business support, restaurant support, coffee shop support, tourism, music, hospitality, downtown. It's part of this community that is eroding, this sense of community that's eroding. The Board of Visitors have a serious decision to make. And unfortunately, I think that decision, and I don't use words like this lightly, is the termination of a head football coach that helped lead a program through a mass murder. Tony Elliott's got tremendous props from all of us of how he handled an unprecedented event, the murder of 3 football players. He deserves significant credit. At this point, however, I think that credit and that equity is no longer in the bank. And you have to clean house. And as I predicted a few weeks ago, 2 national coaching searches potentially on our hands here with Virginia's top 2 programs, and that is extremely concerning. If you're just tuning into the program, the Board of Visitors meet Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. We will see what materializes with their athletic department and its football and basketball programs. Frankly, I'm curious to see what happens with the athletic director, as she's being rumored to interviewing for a lot of jobs. Time will tell. Judah Wickhauer, football and basketball, not your cup of tea. We'll go to the next headline. Kevin Yancey, Bill McChesney, Lonnie Murray, thank you for watching the program. Scott Thorpe, thank you for watching the program. Local television and radio, thank you for watching the program. The next headline, I think, is a visualization of what Violent Crown could be. I want to offer some color or some background of what you're about to see. Number one in the family is Deep Throat. We appreciate his commentary. He's got a son. His oldest scion goes by the nickname, the moniker High Voice. High Voice, a computer wizard. Deep Throat bought High Voice a very fancy and expensive computer setup. High Voice turns around and says, you know what, Deep Throat? I'm going to create some fantastic content for the I Love CVille show. I want to do a visualization of what Violent Crown could be if it turns into a 184-foot apartment tower on the downtown mall. How long is the video? About 2 minutes?
Yeah, just about 2.5.
This puts things in perspective. We can offer our commentary afterwards. There's a portion of the population screaming, we need housing. I am of the population that screams, let's prioritize infrastructure like transportation and roads and pedestrian and walkways, and most importantly, schools, because I'm tired of kids learning in trailers. Before we create more housing, let's prioritize quality of life. First, let's look at what a landscape of the downtown mall could look like with a 184-foot apartment tower on it. Let's cue it up in 3. Let's cue it up in 2. Let's play it now, please.
A lot of attention has been paid recently to a proposal for a new residential building on the downtown mall. And since we've done a whole series of streetscape visualizations, people have asked us to do one for this project. So what's planned? A tower 184 feet in height, which would be the tallest building in Charlottesville, to replace the building on the southwest part of the mall that now contains the Violet Crown movie theater. The still inchoate plan is the brainchild of Heirloom Development, the real estate vehicle of investor Jeffrey Levian. While it's early days, the proposal should be considered serious, as Heirloom has a record of high-end development in Charlottesville, most notably the apartment building around the late lamented Blue Moon Diner. In previous visualizations, we made a lengthy disclaimer about the intent of the exercise. Even so, some people managed to misconstrue it, so we'll try to be pellucidly clear. We're merely trying to give people a sense of height and mass of the project in the context of the current streetscape. We aren't predicting architectural choices. This isn't a commentary on the zoning ordinance. In fact, Heirloom has said that it will seek deviations from the NZO to make this project work. The visualization is merely another piece of information for people to consult as they form an opinion. It's not in itself an opinion or argument for or against the project. While viewers may have some strong opinions,
I love it.
I hate it!
We remain totally neutral. With that in mind, we handed it over to our resident visualization expert, who apparently can do what NDS can't, and provide this flyover representation.
That's a visualization created by High Voice, the oldest scion of Deep Throat. While they do not want to offer opinions with the visualization they created, I will offer my opinion. This is an opinion-based show. Do we talk news on this program? Yes, we do. Do we want to be the people that break the news? No, we don't. We want to be the people that offer commentary and the analysis on the news that's around the community. 184 feet tall is too much. The University of Virginia made an argument on Ivy Road. Its chief architect, I think her name is Alice Rauscher. She spoke before City Council about the BB&T, the Truist Bank site. Truist Bank site, the chitter chatter, was an apartment tower there, eventually approved. University of Virginia's position was putting an apartment tower on this critical corridor into the city from Western Albemarle, from Ivy into the city, an apartment tower on the site of a Truist Bank would be an eyesore that would not complement the landscape or the eye appeal of that gateway. Personally, I agreed with her. I agreed with her because if you know anything about that Ivy corridor and that gateway, traffic snarls and it can be nightmarish. The infrastructure is not set up for something of that magnitude. And if anyone makes the argument that apartment towers are going to be walkability tenants, tenants that pursue a walking lifestyle as opposed to a car-centric lifestyle, that is BS. That's word salad and that's salesmanship. If you can afford a lease that's $3,000 or $4,000 a month, you're going to have a car, ladies and gentlemen. And the people that live in this apartment tower, whether it's on Ivy Road where the Truist Bank site is going to be, or whether it's the apartment tower that's being scuttlebutted around on the downtown mall and the Violent Crown location, they're going to have cars and vehicles. It's not going to be walking-only tenants. Don't believe the word salad or the salesmanship. And I'm going to cut to the chase. Putting an apartment tower that's 184 feet, that is what? What's the next tallest building? The Code building, was it? Or it's the Draftsman. Can you go and let us know how tall the Draftsman Hotel is? Judah can let us know. Give us the link where they can find that as well online. Having a building that is way taller than the other buildings in the city is not what we want from an architectural review standpoint. It's not what we want from a quality of life standpoint, from a landscape standpoint, from an eye appeal standpoint. Don't let a small, vocal, organized population bully government into something of this monstrositous nature. Did I just make up a word?
Yep.
That is a monstrosity, a tower of that height. And I want you to think about it. What's the Draftsman Hotel height? Are you on a two-shot?
The Draftsman is 121 feet.
121 feet. I want you to think about it this way. Okay? I'll weave Judah Wickower in. Georgia Gilmer says, High Voice is amazing. More visualizations from High Voice, please. Got multiple people saying, more visualizations from High Voice, please. High Voice, please give us more visualizations. I'm asking you, High Voice, for more visualizations. Will you ask High Voice for more visualizations, Judah?
Please.
Did you like the visualization?
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. I'll add this. Friend of the program, Jaffrey Woodruff, built the Code building where the ice park is. Mm-hmm. The Code building is an elegantly, beautifully designed building that complements the landscape of the downtown mall. It's visually appealing. Went through the proper channels to get this building built. There was no ruckus. There was no begging and pleading for tax breaks and additional height. It was following the rules that were in play. How would you feel if a building right next to yours, where you spent $100 million plus to build a building, someone that doesn't have a lot of ties to the community, then puts a tower next to yours that is shadowing, creating shadows over it? How would you feel if you were the folks that had those Water Street condos and this building towered over yours? How would you feel if you were any of the tenants currently on the downtown mall, and when you looked outside your window or you stood on your rooftop deck and all you could see was this, no longer your view of Carter's Mountain, no longer your view over the Blue Ridge? How would you feel if you were the businesses on that side of the mall, the Omni Hotel side of the mall, and at the very same time you could have a hotel project next to the Omni Hotel by the same developer? You may also have this project right across the mall from the hotel project. There is not a chance in hell that a lot of these businesses are going to be able to survive years of construction with 2 projects across the mall from each other? How would you feel if you were Grit Coffee? Grit Coffee, did you know, is moving from York Place to the old Waterbird Spirit location, Hunter Craig's building, where the clock, that clock building used to be, where Waterbird Spirit's distillery used to be? Is that the corner of 2nd and Water?
Interesting.
That's where Grit's moving to. How would you feel if you're the owners of Grit Coffee? You sign a lease with Hunter Craig, a long-term lease that's expensive, to move your location from the downtown mall to Water Street for more seating and extra space, only to find that City Hall and Charlottesville City Council may roll out a tax abatement red carpet, a obscene height red carpet for a developer that wants to take one side of the mall and make it his own personal, what? Playground for building blocks? Jeff Levine, and I've asked him to come on the program. Will he do it? Time will tell. This Big Apple developer is basically playing Monopoly or SimCity or Legos on the downtown mall. He's building Lego towers on the downtown mall, but he's doing it in real life. It's the more I think about it, the more I realize that this is an absolute potential travesty to the city. Let us know your thoughts, viewers and listeners. Albert Graves, comments coming in quickly. Warrior AG on Twitter. I feel like the people who first purchased a home in Old Trail and were sold a false bill of goods on the fact that their homes had beautiful mountain views until they pop up 2-story homes and then 3-story apartments that take your mountain views away. Appreciate that comment from Albert Graves. We'll go to Deep Throat. Jeff Levine's pillar of power will block many views of Dewberry's middle finger on a bright side. He calls it the pillar of power. Georgia Gilmer, we appreciate you watching the program. Kevin Yancey, downtown Charlottesville was never intended to be a residential area. There's a few apartments, but not a residential area. There has to be other areas for population density besides the downtown mall. He says, someone approached the owners of the old Trailways bus station and buy that and build density there. Bill McChesney, that will be more Lego architectural with unimaginative steel and a glass facade. He says, obviously no one involved with planning and building in Charlottesville has ever played SimCity. I think council is going to be in a very precarious position. And this is why they'll be in a precarious position. Because if they don't allow density like this, the developer's just going to say this new zoning code and this push for more housing creation is bogus. And then council will also get reamed by the Livable Charlottesville organization. If they do allow it and create the tax breaks and the additional height, it opens a Pandora's box where the mall and other places in the city will become Fredericksburg, which will lack more of our charm, which will cannibalize more of our charm and conversation starters. I love more visualizations as well. Anything you want to offer on this before the next topic, Judah?
I would love to see, hold on, let me get it on screen. I would love to see a visualization of the shadow that thing casts, perhaps over the course of a couple seasons, as obviously the sun will cast the shadow in different directions, depending on spring, summer, fall, winter. I would be interested in seeing how much that is going to affect life on the downtown mall, because that will be a large building.
Massive building. Holly Foster, it was good to see you at the Turkey Trot. Queen of Henrico watching the program right now. That's a suggestion for High Voice. Vanessa Parkhill, Sonia Houchins, Nick Poncelin, thank you for watching the program. Jeremy Winson says, time for Tony Elliott and Carla Williams to both go. Couple of things I want to highlight here at the 110 marker of today's program. There's 3 spots up for grabs on the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors. There's 2 spots up for grabs on Charlottesville City Council. Neil Williamson has a great post on the Free Enterprise Forum. I hope Neil's watching today. It's called Talking Turkey. And he highlights the following races that are up for grabs. 3 on the BOS, 3 of 6 on Albemarle County Board of Supervisors are up for re-election. 2 of 5 on Charlottesville City Council. 3 of 5 on the Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors. 2 of 5 on the Greene County Board of Supervisors. 4 of 7 on the Louisa County Board of Supervisors. 3 of 5 on the Nelson County Board of Supervisors. So in Albemarle, half the board is up for re-election. In Charlottesville, 40% of the board is up for re-election. In Fluvanna, a majority is up for re-election. Greene County, 40% up for re-election. Louisa County, a majority is up for re-election. Nelson County, a majority is up for re-election. He highlights all these are happening at the same time that voters will select a governor, a lieutenant governor, and an attorney general. The election that just happened, Judah, Trump and Harris,
Yeah.
all the talk, right? The point of Williamson's post, the election next year, we're 11 months away from it. That's the one that's really going to impact our town, in our community, in our region. Half the board in Albemarle, 40% of Charlottesville, the majority in Fluvanna, the majority in Louisa, the majority in Nelson, and 40% in Greene. All up for re-election. Does Bellamy Brown run again?
That would be interesting.
Does Bellamy Brown make a push for Charlottesville? We have a lot of respect for Bellamy Brown.
Yeah.
Will we see a centered ideology? What do you want to see, Judah?
I would like to see some. I would like to see some debate, some discussion. I would like to see candidates from not just both sides, but perhaps a candidate from with a different outlook than the usual binary, so we can get some interesting ideas about what's best for Charlottesville in the future, and Albemarle County, and some of these other places. I think there's never anything lost by having a little discussion, a little debate, a little disagreement, and people hashing out perhaps new ideas, new ways of doing things, and taking ideas and making them better.
Holly Foster and Henrico watching the program. Her wonderful dog Luke sitting by her side, probably dressed in an adorable sweater, Luke. She says that proposed building will ruin the downtown mall. It is too massive. What would be the questions you would ask anyone running for council? For Pinkston and Wade's seat, both choosing to run again. I would ask them the following as you think of your questions. I would ask them, what would they do with this project? I'd ask them directly, what's your stance on this project? I'd ask them directly what their stance is on the new zoning ordinance and if it's materializing in any capacity.
Yeah.
I'd ask them directly what their stance is on the renaming of all the things that are happening around town. have you noticed that a lot of Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 200, Fortune 500 brands are distancing themselves from the DEI efforts that have happened during the pandemic and right after the George Floyd murder?
Yeah, I have heard stuff about that, and
Lowe's,
it makes sense.
Home Depot, Walmart, Tractor Supply, all distancing themselves from some of those efforts that materialized right after the George Floyd murder.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad.
Why do you say that?
Because I don't want my businesses. I don't want my businesses telling me who they want to win a national election. I don't want them telling me who they want to win a local election, and I feel like DEI initiatives for most businesses are just virtue signaling, and more often than not, they end up backfiring. And I will be glad when businesses just stop trying to do all the virtue signaling and just get back to the business of doing good business.
John Deere, Harley Davidson, Home Depot, Lowe's.
Have DEI initiatives helped any of those businesses? I don't see how they possibly could.
I'd ask them these questions. How do you hold the University of Virginia more accountable? Can you hold them more accountable? I'd ask them these questions. What do you do to revitalize the mall? I'd ask them these questions. How can you better work with Albemarle County? I'd ask them these questions. Why are remodelers and developers choosing not to do projects in the city right now and canceling projects that are on the calendar? So much to cover on the show. We're going to cover it this week on the I Love CVille show. Follow what happens at Virginia very closely, because you may see a change of significant proportions with the football team and the NIL collective. The folks that are choosing to run are making the decision now. The Monday edition of the show. Judah Wickower, yours truly, Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for watching us. So long, everybody.